Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
hello. Am I audible?
okay, yeah, you're audible.
So, yeah, hey all. Uh, how many of you have already been through interviews and have encountered the interview situation once well before 5 years? Can we please have a raise of hands to just check on how many of you have already attended interviews before? So yeah, seems that quite a few of you have already been through interview situations before. And the and in interview we face questions like, tell us something about yourself which is not there in your resume. What are your three weaknesses? What distinguishes you from other candidates? And we get puzzled when we are exposed to such questions. And are you baffled every time you have to give an interview?
Okay, so like they just talked about the interview questions. Now, also coming to the next round, which is the group discussion round. There also, fear to talk is a major concern that holds back most of the students during the group discussion round. And it's not just you, even me as your fellow batchmate. Keeping that in mind, we are also sailing in the same boat. So don't worry, but we are here within session for the same. And we are extremely grateful to introduce our speaker for the same, Mr. Lavishkar, who is a consultant at Bain and Company and has completed his MBA from NMIS Global Access School for Continuing Education and has also worked at ZS as a decision analytics associate and is also a founder of Score My CV. Thank you so much, sir, for being there. Now, sir, over to you.
Hi Charvi, hi Tejas. Good evening. How are you doing?
We are great,
We
sir.
are
Thank you
doing
so
great,
much.
sir.
Yeah, it was a great introduction, setting the context for the session. I hope everyone is now ready for an insightful session. A lot of technical things will be there. So yeah. Um, so I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah, hello. So I think there is a bit lag on Sir's side. He will be just joining in a second. He's in the meeting. I think. So yeah, some technical glitches are.
Hello. Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
hear me now?
Yes,
yeah,
sir,
yeah.
you're audible
Yes,
now.
sir. You're
Yeah. Apologize. My Teams crashed.
Yeah, no
No
issues,
worries,
sir.
no
As
issues.
it's very typical of teams, no issues.
Yes, sir.
Cool, cool. I'll just reshare my screen again. Yeah, you guys can see my slide now, right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
right.
Everything is perfect.
Okay, all right. So yeah, good evening, everyone. As already Chavi and they have already introduced me. So Lavish Kark this year, I'm a strategy consultant at Bean and Company, also a co-founder at ScoreMyCV.com. Uh, so yeah, we'll be talking today about group discussion tips and interview tips, how you can crack. Uh, so just for my understanding, which all courses are the students currently enrolled in, like BCom, BBA, like what all programs?
Yes, sir. So we have students from BCom and Stats and Eco, and also some students are from engineering and other backgrounds as well. So yeah, we have a diverse crowd here.
Okay, so only from Hindu college or other colleges as well?
Yes, sir. We have registrations from over 150 plus institutes. So yeah,
Okay, got it, got it, got it. Okay, across India, right?
yeah.
All right, so then we have a diverse crowd, no issues. All right, so moving ahead. Sure, why it's mm, okay, yeah. So yeah, uh, guys, let's be interactive in this session. It's not gonna be like I'll be just speaking for continuous 1 hour and then okay, you just listen, mom, and maybe some will mute themselves or mute this session as well and just do their own things. So let's be interactive. Any doubts you have, you can just pop on the whatever the policy is, like you can pop on the screen or chat or just type in. Let's make the session interactive and not be the left guy, be the right guy, like always cheerful and looking forward to new things. All right. So, quick introduction. They already given me. I'm a petroleum engineer by background. Did my MBA from NMIMS. Then I worked as a data analyst in Weatherford. Then as a business analyst in ZS Associates. Then again moved back to Weatherford as a technical consultant, and now working as an energy consultant in Bain and Company. So yeah, talking about also, I also do freelancing for resume writing, for resume reviews, career planning and guidance, and interview preparation. So if you have any queries or you want help on resumes or any professional help, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. uh, cool. So here's just a quick overview of my companies where I've worked on, and the context why I'm saying is the next thing. So whenever you work in a company, like there are always two skills, right, which you acquire. One is core skills and one is transferable skills. So I'm a petroleum engineer by background. So in my first company, my core skill was petroleum, right, because I did my study in that. But the adjacent transferable skills were data analysis, which I did, and digitalization topics, which the projects I was involved in. All right. So these are transferable skills which I can actually carry on to any other industry as well, right? On basis on these two skills, data analysis and digitalization, I got a chance to work at ZS, because obviously ZS won't take a petroleum engineer, right? They don't require petroleum engineers. Most of the projects in ZS are related to healthcare and pharma, and even I was also allocated to pharma domain. But the reason I switched to ZS was learn about data analytics tools, XLR, Python, and sales and marketing strategies. Because ZS and all these companies take freshers without any having any previous any background in data analytics or something like that. So in ZS, apart from the core skills, which was pharma domain, in the healthcare domain, I also learned about data analytics tools and all these. So I built upon the original transferable skills in both my companies, and basis these, and then I moved on to a sales and a technical consultant role at my previous company again. Again, the core skills were petroleum, but the transferable skills which I learned was modeling, optimization, technical data analysis, and sales and consulting. So if you just sum of my experience, like I have some technical experience, right? Energy domain, petroleum. Alongside, I also have modeling, optimization, sales, consulting, right? Basis all this experience, then I moved to Bain and Company, where they required both of my skills. If I didn't have my transferable skills with me, I wouldn't have got a job. So energy skills, of course, they required because they were hiring for energy professionals. On top of that, uh, I also had data analytics, modeling, technical consulting skills. So yeah, and in my current role, I'm also learning the skills such as strategy, performance improvement, benchmarking, etc. So these are transferable skills which I'm learning at my current company. So always do know that what are your skills, and accordingly you should build upon or highlight in your resume as well as showcase them in your interview. So knowing them, this is the first aspect which you need to do. Even as a student, I think you should whatever your background is, BCom or BBA. I mean, I think a lot of people do freelancing and a lot of other internships which are not related to their education degrees, right? So those are the transferable skills which can be applied in any of the sectors. So identify those and make a list of those. So to give you a life of a consultant, so here is Amma, who is selling fish, right? So adding to the perspective, like life of us consultant, what we do is if this Amma comes to our company to get a business analysis done, so what are we going to do is internal assessment. Okay, customer experience, so she's like happily treating the customers, right, with a laugh, so people will be happy who customers are going to come to her, right? New product offerings, what different types of fishes she's serving, right? Then what are the current offerings, or maybe new types of fish offerings she wants to buy in and then offer to customers, right? And then tools and technologies, like she's using tubs for keeping the fish, some are using advanced some metallic, right? I mean, whatever. So these are, so this is like internal assessment what we do as a consultant. Then all we also do external assessment, like this was from a business perspective as a client. So Amma is our client, right? We also do market assessment. Here we do competitor assessment. The other Amma sitting there, what are they doing, right? How are they treating their customers? Then supplier relations, how are they purchasing or buying fish, right? The mediators. Then we also do market assessment. Okay, who, what are the rates going on, what are the reforms, how is like dealers or the third party mediators acting, how are they affecting this Amma, right? On top of that, there are enablers also, like people. So enablers are like aspects where you which help the business function or achieve its strategic objectives, right? So Amma needs government policies, right? There has to be a person sitting on the stall to sell the fish, right? Those are the people. Then we have the market regulations. So in consulting jargons, we call these enablers. So just to give you an overview, okay, what a typical consulting project like is. We'll come back to Amma again. We're gonna come back to this context again. So moving forward, so this is a typical benchmarking example of a typical consulting project. Suppose our client is ExxonMobil. They told us to evaluate some ESG portfolio. So okay, we'll evaluate what are the typical parameters we're going to benchmark the competitors and all these. So yeah, moving on to now the original agenda starts. So we'll be talking about the placement journey, overall value chain. Then we'll be talking about the group discussion. Then we'll be talking about the interview trips, and then we'll have a surprise bonus. So yeah, you have to stick to 1 hour session to find the bonus. So yeah, jumping onto the job placement journey. So yeah, I mean, it starts with resume selection. First of all, you need to have top-notch resumes to get selected first. I mean, and honestly, if you are thinking to apply to top companies like Bain, ZS Associates, I mean, your resume needs to be top-notch. All the bullet points and all that, everything needs to be in order and highly impactful points and keywords with quantitative data to back the results. Then only you'll get selected. And even that's just a first step. Even interviews are even more harder to crack at these big firms because there's so much competition. So you need to really practice and ace. That's we're gonna the focus of today. So how you're gonna prepare and ace those interviews, and then it's about HR rounds and negotiations and job offer. So let's jump on to quickly onto the interview group discussion part. So yeah, So here I've highlighted kind of typical roles as a group discussion. Like if a group discussion is happening, what typical roles, like 5 to 6 students are there in a GD. So what are the typical roles they will have? So the first one will be initiator, right? I mean, at least one of the person will initiate the GD. Like you are given 1 minute to think about a topic, and then someone initiates. So you need to think, okay, will you be an initiator if the GD discussion is there? So you need to practice beforehand. It's not like, okay, you go to the room and instantly you think about, okay, today I'm going to be your initiator. No, it does not work that way. You have to already practice it beforehand. You have to mentally prepare yourself that, okay, tomorrow is GD is happening for a company, and you will have to be an initiator. Like it's a challenge which you need to give to yourself. The same applies for finisher as well. So these both are very heavy responsibility roles which have high impact, but there are cons also. So if you don't introduce the GD or initiate the topic well, or you don't finish the topic well, you're gonna lose your points. So it's a high responsibility, high stake game here. So it depends on capabilities. Not everyone has to be an initiator or finisher. Just assess your skills, that if you have the ability to be an initiator or finisher, then definitely do practice it. So initiator are the ones which initiate discussion. Then we have the mediators, like who all agree with all the points and they don't add maybe much more value. Like if you don't have any context, okay, what's happening, or the topic is very new to you, or you don't have any much general knowledge, then you'll be like, okay, yes, I agree with this, I agree with Y person, I agree with Z person. Yeah, right. So mediator is like a dicey thing. You may not be able to crack GD based on being a mediator, honestly. So mediator is the least, I think, role which you want to take, uh, until unless, I mean, you clueless about the topic, you don't know anything. So then that's, yeah, but mediator is not really preferred. Then we come on to the challenger. So challenger is like the initiator has set the context, right? And there's a high possibility that the initiator may not be set a big context, a broader context. They may only focus on one thing, versus they also may focus on very broad things. So as a challenger, your responsibility is, if the initial context is broad, focus them, right? Focus the discussion. Or if it's a focused discussion going on, then make it a broad discussion. So that's how you add value, right? I mean, people will be like, okay, suddenly the context really changed into a broad or a focused context, right? So be a challenger if you can. Like you have, for this also you have to mentally prepare, okay, analyze the thoughts, what people are saying. Okay, see, okay, these are talking very broad terms. Let's focus on one thing. Okay, how are these things affecting the economy, or how are these affecting things X or Y or Z, right? Then we come on to the boxer. So boxer is a person who adds a punchy context, like some crazy facts, jaw-dropping facts, some crazy analysis, or some different POV which nobody has thought of. So this is the way you can get highlighted. Okay, suddenly you add some job. Okay, everyone be like, yeah, okay. It will be difficult to back up. First of all, they'll not be challenged. They'll not be able to challenge you because it's a fact. I mean, if the given that fact is right, you are not just blabbering numbers here and there. So boxer and challenger is the ways you can actually highlight yourself in a positive way. You are not like negating the discussion or stopping the discussion. You are just adding value to the discussion by being a challenger or a boxer, right? Then comes the debater. So don't be a debater. Debater are like, they contradict everything. मतलब कुछ भी बोलो उनको वो opposite ही बोलना है. So don't be a debater. Don't create fights in the GD. Remain calm. I mean, if required, you can increase your volume, of course, because there is obviously a fish market going on usually in GDs. So you need to raise a voice, be bold, but yeah, don't step outside the boundary towards the debater, because like if you start contradicting everything, I mean, it's gonna be haywire. If the person opposite telling you, like if the discussion going on is really on some wrong point, and you feel that okay, you have a solid point, then of course please feel free to debate and contradict that point, but not on every point, right? So so after these roles, after 1 or 2 minute discussion or 3 minute discussion, then comes the finisher role. So if you feel that during the GD you are not able to leave a good high impact, being a challenger or a boxer, right, or an initiator, then you still have a chance to be a finisher. But for finisher, you need to take down notes because it's a 3 minute discussion. You cannot remember everything from start to end because you have to contribute also, right? If you are a boxer, then you have to think about like for 15-20 seconds some crazy facts and then add in the context. So you may tend to forget what other people are saying. So it's a good practice that if you have not initiated the discussion initially, then start taking down notes, and that to shorthand writing. I mean, Google it, how to write short notes, shorthand writing. It's called shorthand. So you need to take short notes so that when the GD ends, you actually have a great summary to summarize everyone's points, right? And GD topics are usually like it's they always have a pro and con, right? So if all of the people are at the end of the discussion aligned towards uh, one aspect, then of course we conclude towards that. But still, if at the end of the GD everyone is still debating, there is a fish market till the end also, then don't take sides being a finisher. Say that okay, these are the pros, whereas these are the cons. So accordingly, we need to judge like which side we need to take strides on based given the perspective, like on the current situation, what we are looking for. So you need to be diplomatic when you're finishing in a fish market, right? If it's not a fish market, everyone agrees to the pros. Okay, suppose like uh, will Tesla come to India? So it's bound that everyone will be positive, right? That everyone will be in favor of that topic. So you have to be positive as a finisher based on the discussion, right? Versus if there's some religion or politics going on, then of course, I mean, don't take strides. Be diplomatic. Just summarize whatever has been discussed. Don't add your own opinions at the end of the summary. Just take notes. So identify, maybe take the list down. I mean, all these roles, maybe take snapshot you want to. But yeah, try to identify your skills, which role you fit in, which you can do best, right? There will definitely one role for every person which they can pick, right? Challenger boxer. I mean, you of course, obviously, you need to step out of your comfort zone for any of the things to do. I mean, obviously, that's the given, right? I mean, you need to nail the interview. So yeah, I mean, you need to step out of comfort. So yeah, these are the key roles. So GD mastery mechanism is like it's all practice. I mean, until unless you are already a pro debater, I mean, you love to debate with people and you're really good at communication skills, then that's a different ball game. Otherwise, practice with friends, get involved in debates. It's all debate. I mean, honestly. Then participate in debates at college level. There are a lot of debates and extempore. And honestly, GD nobody can teach you. It's all practice. Third one is structure your thoughts. I mean, this is gonna help in all the consulting interviews, and I'm gonna be stressing on this again, structuring your thoughts, because this is one of the very important aspects if you are appearing for a consulting interview. Structuring your thoughts. I mean, you need to know what you're gonna speak and how are you framing your sentences. How are you framing your information flow? It's not like you're randomly thinking about 10 things and you are not able to structure those 10 thoughts and you're just blabbering 10 thoughts randomly here and there, right? That first you're saying I love Modi, you say no, I hate Modi, then you're saying I love Rahul Gandhi. So these are not the things you need to, I mean, you need to structure your thoughts, take strides and then structure your thoughts, then getting out of comfort zone, and yeah, be confident about yourself. So this is about GD mastery mechanism, right? I mean, it's all practice. So yeah, that's about the group discussion. Let's move on to interviews. So yeah, typical consulting interviews are of like, there can be more categories. I mean, behavioral interviews and all these, but overall broad overarching, these are the two categories, like case interviews and general fit interviews. All right. So let's talk about typical interview questions, right? These are typical, I mean, what I have faced during my interviews. Like, I've given two consulting interviews, ZS Associates and Bain. So I've tried to brief down, okay, these are the broad 8 aspects. I mean, there will be more depending on person to person, but yeah. So first one is the intro. uh, Please give you a brief introduction. So this is common, and the star marks are the one which I'm going to deep dive on how to structure this answer, So these two we'll just talk about in a brief time. So prepare a quick intro, but it should be good. I mean, honestly, uh, practice it well. I have seen people really people are really very overconfident when they're talking about, okay, introduction. Okay, yeah, I know I have practiced. I've given a lot of interviews and I know I'll nail it. No, it does not work that way. Honestly, you need to really practice introduction. I mean, write it down, write your pointers down. You like if someone wakes you up from sleep also now, you should be able to deliver a high impactful introduction then and there itself without thinking. That's how the preparation should be, because during interviews you don't know the stress and the pressure you're going to feel. So your mind should be able to recall thoughts without even thinking. You're getting the point. Subconsciously you should be able to recall your thoughts. So in order to recall your thoughts in pressure, you need to practice it, so that I mean, uh, uh, like typical footballers players, right? I mean, you take any sports person, like you call them any time of the day, they'll deliver their 100% no matter what, right? So that's exactly the principal philosophy which you should implement for your introduction. And honestly, it sets the context and the stage for every interview. If you're not impactful, low on energy, structuring or thoughts is not there, and it leaves a low impact, honestly, right? And so we'll just talk about in a brief on this again. So the first one is intro, then second is like being students yourself. Projects is all what you have, right? I mean, projects and internships. So structure those projects and internships well. I mean, you may have done 20 projects, but all are not relevant for that particular internship or the job you are applying to. So for each of the job you are applying to or interview you're appearing for, select the top projects which have high impact, right? Like, so first would be the relevance to the job which you're applying to, and then would be the high impact projects with quantitative results. Okay, this is what you did, this is what analysis I analyzed 20 companies, I worked on this project, improved productivity by 100%, modeled a simulation, conducted a simulation study for optimizing this process and resulted in cost savings of 10%. So always be quantitative on whatever the results you deliver on projects or whatever, right? Then comes about, like, typically questions what they ask is consulting, why you want to enter consulting. So we'll quickly jump into this into just next of the slides. Then usually they typically ask, tell us a situation where you had, I think someone is unmuted, there's a disturbance coming on. Can everyone please mute yourself? Yeah, I think, thank you. So yeah, the other question they usually ask is, tell a situation where you had the highest impact. So write these down honestly. Take a paper, make a diary, write all these questions down, and write the answers also down. You should, like, in a split second you should answer these questions. There's no time that you can think, and you should be ready with the answers then and there itself whenever the question comes. So make a diary. Honestly, this is what I did. I mean, I'm not just blabbering stuff, copying from Google. I always made a paper, one pager, two pager, with all the questions down. One, like, I think I remember for a ZS interview, I think I had listed on all the HR questions which were available on the Google, all the HR questions. There were 30 to 40 questions on a list paper. Literally wrote that down and wrote all the key answers for those 40 questions. So that's how I practiced. That's how I would recommend, until unless you are a really high achiever, and, like, of course, exceptions are always there. So same applies for leadership. They always look for time when you led a team to success. So write some examples down, because this will take some introspection, like thinking about your past time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before, right? What you did in college, you're already in second year, third year, first year, whatever. So in school also you must have done. So write down all the key important leader positions of responsibility, right? Just list them down with high impact. Even here also high impact, right? Always the impact should be high, whatever you speak. Then again, tell us a time when you failed and what you did. Let's be positive here. I mean, let's not write, okay, I did this and I failed. No, no, it has to be constructively positive. uh, so Google stuff like, tell us a time when you failed, you'll get a lot of instances. Okay, so give them, you can say an example, right? you were given a project in college with a timeline of 3 days, and a new team was there. So initially you thought that you'll fail. I mean, because 3 days you have not worked in a high pressure situation before, and this was a completely new project out of your domains and the skills you have. So you initially thought yet you failed, but you made a structured plan, discussed with your team that what's the best plan and plan of action you should adopt to achieve this particular outcomes, and that's how you delivered. So this is how you should actually answer these kind of questions. You can make up scenarios, no issues. Feel free to make up scenarios. It's not like you always have to tell the truth. No, you can make up scenarios, tweak here and there your life scenarios here and there. I'm sure everyone has faced difficult situations somewhere or the other. Same applies for tell us a time when you face difficult situation, and they are usually typically ask what are your great strengths or what are your weaknesses. Even those, Google it. There are a lot of answers. Your strengths and weaknesses. Some weaknesses you can, for example, say strengths everybody knows. Of course, weaknesses where everyone fails to tell. So weaknesses you can maybe say like I sometimes give more than required time to a project, thus which leads to a burnout, right? But to counter that, you have actually uh, started thinking about your working styles, right? You start your day with a plan so that you don't burn out, and you actually also deliver the project outcomes also. So this is a weakness, right, in a positive way, and it does not portray your weaknesses as a like okay yaar, they start questioning your competencies. No, so we have to be very skillful in presenting your weaknesses, right? So these are two examples where you can share. So yeah, so let's talk about storyboarding introduction. So see, everybody is like bored of okay, people are gonna start with introduction. Hello, I was there, I was here, I did my schooling in this, then I moved to this college. So let's make a good let's cook a story which is worth remembering. I mean, they should remember you. Okay, or this person was there, he or she made a very good introduction right from school to goals, right? So structure your introduction so that a good storyline, like it should be a movie. The interviewer should enjoy listening to your introduction. From school you can start talking about your extracurricular activities, high achievements. Again, impact should be high. The priority order should be the high impactful activities will be on top, right? Ignore all the non impactful, or like don't say that I was participating in art and craft competition. So make a high impactful list of extracurricular activities and achievements, right? Cook a story how you developed your interest in these, right? Then you move on to college. Okay, this is why I was interested in BCom or BBA, whatever your college or degree is. So then start your journey from first year to final year. Okay, so initially I got interested into this, so that's why I did these projects. Then I further developed an interest into this. Then I did that internship. Then I participated in college events, right? So cook a story from first year to final year of all your projects, internships, competitions, extracurricular activities, and how your interests developed. They really want to know how your interest and skills were developed, how you actually formed your vision. Okay, this is what I want to do. They really want to listen, but it has to be brief also. I mean, don't spend 5 minutes just speaking introduction. It has to be 2 minute or 3 minute thing, quick introduction, but high impactful also, right? Also, I mean, you'll be talking about internships. So write down your learnings from internships, the key learnings only, or 1 or 2 internships, that's it. Like try to brief the internships in 1 or 2 lines with quantitative results. What was the key takeaways and how you used it, or how you're going to use it in your future jobs or profession, right? So talk about your exposure, what exposure you got, and how it shaped your vision. So in consulting interviews, you always keep a broader picture in hand. Don't just keep on fixated on just 1 or 2 goals or results or what you did to company names. No, always think about the bigger picture, because that's what they're looking for in consulting. That you should be able to see the broader picture, the broader vision. What are you trying to achieve in your life through these internships, or in your professional life? You're gonna achieve through the internships, right? Then you maybe can talk about goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, how they are framing your professional lives, and all this. So cook a good story. At the end, this is what it is. So yeah, so now we come on to the answer of why consulting. So we again come back to Amma, who is selling fish in the market, right? So usually, typically, people answer why consulting. See, consulting is this business, and people like all the businesses come to companies because they are facing big problems, and then they want to optimize their businesses. And consulting is like requires uh, analytical skills, problem solving skills. You get to learn about a lot of industries. You develop a broader vision. So, I mean, these are like typical answers which you can get Google on, right? But if you present a story here, okay, why you want to join consulting, then there's a key differentiator which you'll have. Suppose you narrate the story in your interview that Amma is selling fish in the market. So before COVID, in the morning Amma was selling fish, and the evening they were making tiffins, right? So financial impact, they were earning money. Liabilities is zero because daily the inventory comes, right? Morning fish comes, evening they sell off, and then it's boom, gone. Next day new stock of fish is there, right? But the financial liabilities is five people, right? Amma has to serve her family of five people, right? So now during COVID, what happened is no business, right? Business were shut. So now financial impact is very high, right? She has to cater to her family of five people, which is now she's finding difficult, right? And restoration switching time is zero, like zero inventory. Now she has got zero inventory, right? Now after COVID, now she has improved her business model. Now she knows that pandemic can strike, what anything can happen anytime. So she need to earn more money, make a financial corpus, so that during hard times she has some money to back up on, right? So now what she's doing, early morning she's baking, then she goes to selling fish, and afternoon she's working in a factory, in evening she's making tiffins. So her business model has changed, right? Now financial impact is high, she's earning more money now, she's more agile now, her business is evolving, and now she's less uh, she will be less impacted by the disruptions which is happening in the market, right? So now this is just, we're talking about one Amma in a big fish market, right? So the impact is just like family of five people, and there is no inventory. But now if you talk about a big corporation which has 1,000 people, so they have into five, right? So they have, if the employees are 1,000, then they have 5,000 people to cater to. There is a lot of business inventory which is in place, capital, human resources, right? Money is there. So for Amma, it's very easy to start selling fish and then switch to baking, start working in factory. She can do anything any time of the day. But that's not how big corporations and businesses work, right? So in order to make the transformation, to become an to transform into an agile operating model, right? To bring agility in the system, to cater to the disruptions, to ensure business continuity is there in case of disasters or whatever threats or risks the businesses faces. They need consultants, right? To actually help them, who understand the business, to help them to maneuver the path towards agility. That's why you want to enter into consulting. So now, if you narrate the story in 2 minutes, see the impact, right? They'll be impressed. Okay, you already have a good vision, and they'll not ask you any other question. Honestly, take it from me. If you narrate a good story, not every one of you, please don't narrate Amma story. Think of some other shopkeeper. So at the end, I mean, it's about story, right? I mean, don't just Google answers and just blabber it on there. So yeah, I mean, that's what the why consulting answer, right? So on the closing note, I mean, that's where most of the people fail, honestly. This is the hidden gem actually in the interviews. The closing note, when the interviewer asks you that, and like, I'm done from my side, if you have any questions, let me know. All right, most of the people will say no, that's it, thank you, or thank you, it was great talking to you, it was a pleasure interacting with you, and all this. But these are, I mean, the cliched answers which don't leave an impact. Else, if you are appearing for a consulting interview, the typical answer, typically nowadays, I mean, post COVID businesses are just evolving, and they are recovering from the disruptions, right? I mean, so the one question which you can ask is like the post COVID-19, how are the large corporations coping with the headwinds of digital and business transformation, right? Because after COVID, every business is going digital, right? And of course, business transformation needs to happen because of so many disruptions, supply chain, and all these. So this is a high impactful question. Actually, will make your interviewer impress that okay, yeah, you actually know about the broader vision. How is world economy functioning? How are the financial markets or the big corporations evolving during COVID? Because that's the companies which need consultants, right? So prepare a list of 4 to 5 good questions, and based on the how's the interview is going and or your discussion with the interviewer, ask a good quality question which will make him or her think about the answer. Okay, yaar. They'll be like, okay, yaar, good question asked, right? Because honestly, this is a good question. If someone asks me this question, I'll be very happy to answer. Okay, how is the consulting, how is the business is transform, because this is honestly bread and butter of our consulting. This is what we do every day, literally. If you ask about our everyday lives, we'll be very happy to answer. So yeah, so these are the ones typical questions which you can actually take a snapshot or write it down. So like, what was the most challenging case that you worked on, right? So looking back at your first year in consulting, what would you have done differently, right? What advice would you give to an incoming consultant?
क्या बोल रहा है?
So yeah. So once strategy is built and it's execution time, what sort of challenges do you typically face? This is a very good question, high impactful question which you can ask, because consultants what typically do is they make the strategy, and when it's execution time, that implementing the strategy, when you actually have to tell Amma ki that Amma, for having a agile model, you actually need to work 4 different jobs during the day in order for your family to be resilient to the disruptions. So you need to convince Amma, right? So that's the most challenging part, when you have to convince businesses to shell out money into a strategy which you have built. So this is a very good question which you can ask actually. Then like, usually typically go through companies. So suppose if you are applying to McKinsey, Bain, or BCG, read through their white papers, blogs published on their websites, right? s- Research the interviewers industry. I mean, usually it will be typically given on their LinkedIn, with industry that will be consumer products, manufacturing services, energy, pharma, consumer goods. Just read the industry, read 2 or 3 articles, and just ask him or her that specific question, that how is that industry shaping. It will leave a very high impact during the interviews. So these are typical case interview questions. I think the agenda is already planned, right? In coming few days, I think, for a deep dive into this. So profitability, market study, market sizing. So these are 3 typically which are typically asked. M&A is not typically asked, honestly. I've just put it down here because it is one of the types. These 3 are the types which are typically asked in the interviews. Brain teaser, obviously there, guess estimates, and consulting math. So these are basic profit and loss questions, ROIs, revenues, cost minus profits, incomes, and all that. So uh, so these are typical type of case interview questions which are asked. For that, I'm sure most of you people will know. So you can download this book, Case in Point. It's the Bible for all the consulting interviews, no matter what company you are appearing for. I have read this book twice, first for ZS and then for Bain. You can crack any company basis on these. Case in point, it is an extensive book, 400-page book. There are a lot of examples which you can solve. So just download, freely available online on Google. Go through this and you will get to know all these different types of case interview questions. If you have any doubts, you can feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer. So yeah, so things consultants hate: unstructured answers. I likewise said, I mean, if you tell Amma, morning you go and sell pav bhaji, after then you go sell fish, and then you go sell toffees, right? And then you maybe start selling chola bhatura. See, so that's not going to work. You need to be structured in your answers. There has to be logic behind your answers, and how are you placing these answers, right? So consultant hate unstructured answer. I mean, if someone is interacting with me now, I'll within 1 minute I'll track that okay, this person has not structured his or her thoughts, because that's how typically it's our daily life, bread and butter. I mean, unstructuring does not work in consulting. So introspect your thoughts, do meditation, because you need to actually analyze your thoughts. what are you thinking and what are you going to say and why are you going to say and how are you going to say it. That's how you need to do in a typical consulting interviews. Second thing is talks without substance. I mean, don't just blabber jargons and digitalization and all these. Come with facts backed by some qualitative or quantitative figures and all that. Not necessarily figures, but talk with substance. Don't just blabber jargon which you don't even know about. Like you're forming sentences which you are not even sure if it makes sense. They'll instantly catch, honestly. So third one is lack of quantitative data to back statements. If you're throwing some random statements, if you have quantitative data, then we'll believe in you. So if you're saying, okay, industry is growing very high rate, don't use these high industries growing at a very high rate. So if you have some quantitative data to back that up, please do that. That will be really, we'll really appreciate that. The fourth one is, I mean, these structure your conversations, structure your thoughts so that you are in a good presentable way. So these are the general fit interviews, right? They'll typically ask you, are you ready for long hours? I mean, consulting life is long hours, honestly. 10, 12 hours, 14 hours. I mean, sometimes it gets stretched. So, sorry, I think, mm, just a sec. I'll just share my screen again.
So tells shares the screen. All the questions are welcome in the chat box, and yeah, be prepared with questions as we will have a Q&A session at the start.
Yeah, please feel free to send your questions on the chat or maybe ping the organizers, whatever. I mean, feel free to do ping. No question is stupid, honestly. Ask whatever you have. So yeah, typically they'll ask you what long hours. So always, I mean, be ready to slog at least in your initial days of consulting or professional life, right? They'll talk about industry trends. So be sure to read about what's happening in the world. How are economies and the nations growing? How are they shaping? Right? How are the industries evolving post COVID? What are they doing now? Like, what are the key trends happening? Manufacturing, energy, renewables, generic farming, whatever. I mean, whatever is relevant to your industry or country or region, whatever. Do keep on reading about industry trends is very important. You cannot read all the trends in one day, honestly. So make a habit. If you are aiming for consulting, please read about industry trends on a regular basis, right? They'll also ask about if you consulting is typically usually industry agnostic at a fresher level. I had engineering degree in petroleum, so obviously I was fit for energy roles only, but you may be offered an option for like any industry. It can be finance, it can be consumer goods, it can be chemicals, uh, it can be anything. So be ready that okay, you have at least read about two or three industries. You should know about two or three industries. How are they functioning? What are the typical trends in those two or three industries? Pick any, just read about those industries. Two or three industries you should know. Anyone who knows the full form of MBB?
McKinsey,
Anyone?
Baines, and BCG. McKinsey,
The
Baines.
top three
Yeah,
consulting
yeah,
firms, McKinsey, Bain,
yeah,
BCG.
yeah, yeah. So typically they'll ask why MBB, right? If you're applying for Bain, they'll ask why Bain, why McKinsey, why BCG. So read about those companies online, what they offer actually, how are they evolving, what recent papers they have published, right? You should be prepared with these questions, and that to high impact, not just typical jargons. Okay, Bain is the top consulting firm, and they work with high Fortune 500 clients, and they deliver high impact results, and that's why I want to know. This is like it doesn't leave an impact, right? Be prepared, formulate a good sentence why you want to join Bain or McKinsey or BCG. uh, like you can connect all these dots actually. If you read about two or three industries, right? Suppose if you say you read about energy industry, right? So when you say why MBB, you'll say I have gone through some papers or white papers published by X company on these, which actually highlighted the importance or the key trends happening in that, and how actually the company helped the client to deliver XXX results. So like you are really like I'm really interested uh, to make a similar impact for a clients which you have typically read through like on the consulting company's website. So pick up a real life example of the company from their website and just talk about that. Okay, why actually you want to join the company? Go through their pages. They'll tell about their cultures and all these. So go and read about that. You will automatically get an answer. Right. So yeah. So this is a recipe for a well-served interview cocktail. So the liquid is loads of content, right? Everyone has, honestly, structured content, but structuring here is important. So content should be structured, split into layers, showcasing a clear flow of information. I mean, chaotic information is what we hate. I mean, we'll easily catch you. You may not know, but if you talk to us in unstructured information, we'll quickly catch in 5 seconds, honestly. So that's how fast we are. So always structure your information, your thoughts, showcasing clear flow of information. There should be a hierarchy. If you're starting from school, your introduction, make it a consistent flow. Okay, you're talking about first year, then second year, consequent projects, internships, then you're moving on to third year, and then your current state. It has to be order flow. Don't keep on switching between topics and years and all that. We don't like that, honestly. Then the icing. So showcase your passion and energy. Don't just blabber content, even if it's structured. If energy is not seen, it does not have you, right? I mean, you won't even. Who will drink a warm cocktail? Please raise hands if anybody likes warm cocktails. So have passion and energy, right? Without that, story will be cold. Then we talk about the lemons, the achievement pitches, right? The achievement pinch. So pack your story with impressive achievements or results. I mean, have quantitative results, right? With high impact, which actually showcases your abilities, logic abilities, leadership abilities, teamwork, whatever it may be, right? Management abilities, whatever it may be. Pack the story with impressive achievements. After every one or two sentences or three sentences, there should be a achievement. Okay, this is what you did. Like make a flow, right? This is this is what you got interested in, that's why you did this, and this is what you achieved or delivered. That's how you should flow your story on every aspect. Then again, the final closing remarks to make it memorable, right? On a cocktail, if this is not there, nobody would recognize it, right? But if it's present, then everyone will remember it, right? So this is similar to the closing remarks. So if you don't ask a good closing question, I mean, you'll be a normal candidate as all other candidates. But if you ask a good question, the interviewer will remember you. So that's how you structure your interviews in a nice manner to make a good success. So now let's talk about bonus part quickly. So I have my own website, right? Scoremycv.com. So uh, we like resume shortlisting is what we help on. So interview preparation is what we have talked about, right? Already preparation of interviews, analytical rounds, technical case studies, HR, right? The only thing left is resume shortlisting. So for this, we actually offer two AI based products at all. It's all artificial intelligence. Like, so the first product is resume improvement, right? So usually typically students don't know what to write in your resume, right? You just write sometimes father's name, mother's name, blood group, and city and address and everything, Aadhaar number, everything, right? So there are a lot of things which you actually don't have to write. And even sometimes people use buzzwords and fillers, right? Like responsible for, managed. So these are very jargons. I mean, like high experience. Students will write high experience or very well versed in these, or 1+ years experience in this doing very like taking content from Google and just copy pasting it. So those are the buzzwords and fillers which typically interviews hate, honestly, because as a consultant we are used to reading very crisp, short, and impactful sentences with uh, good vocabulary. It has to be not advanced vocabulary, but like don't use very difficult words to hard to comprehend, but it has to be structured really well so that impact comes. So those are the action verbs, you can say, right? Like I initiated, I spearheaded, right? So these are the, like, you need to structure your bullet points. Like it has to start with the action verb, that is strong action verb, and then it has to have quantitative subjects, like uh, led a team to work, like led a team to deliver a project for process optimization, right, or chemical process optimization, leading to cost savings of 10%. So right, this, like, you started with a action verb, then you told what you did, how you did, and then the results. So that's how you actually frame your bullet points. And there are a lot of other metrics, 40 plus metrics are there. So you can actually test your resume using AI. It will give you a report in 10 seconds. That's how fast it is. The other one is resume targeting. Most of the people, how many actually often, like, I want to poll, like, if there are 100 jobs, how many actually of you send the same resume to all the 100 jobs in one day? I'm sure everyone. Only one hand
That's
raise we have.
most common in internships, basically, but placements, maybe it's like different.
Yeah, so exactly. So people usually send 100 same resume to 100 jobs, and then they're cribbing at night with your friends. Yaar, call in yaar, yaar. So you won't get calls if you're not tailoring your resume to the jobs, right? There are keywords in every job which, if not there in your resume, it will not pass through the ATS systems, right? Companies have ATS systems. If you upload your resume, company scans your resume, fit that JD automatically. Computer does that, and if the matching is not there, percentage criteria is there. Okay, this first percentage match should be there. If those keywords are not there, your resume will not pass through the computer system. Forget any HR will even look at your resume. So in order to do that, you need to actually target your resume, include the important keywords. So if you're applying to consulting, market research is definitely required in a resume. You need to mention market research not once but multiple times through innovative methods, through like sentences, stories, bullet points, summary, different aspects, right, in projects. So market research, benchmarking, right, POVs, point of views, right, secondary research. Then so all these are like keywords for consulting typical jobs, right? So you need to mention those. But honestly, believe me, going through a JD job description, it's a, like, nobody wants to do it. Right? So that's what we offer a job fit score. So what you do is you upload your resume on a website for job fit score, you paste your job description, whatever job you are applying to, and then our AI will identify all the keywords which are present in that JD, and then match it with your resume. Okay, then it will give you percentage match. Okay, this is the percentage match you're getting. These are the words which you are not including in your resume, and these are the words which are including in your resume. It will give a detailed report for you. So that's how you can actually target your resume and increase your chances of getting shortlisted. So that's the two-way process what we have designed on scoremycv.com. So you can actually visit, and if you have any doubts on your resume review and all these, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn or whatever. So that's about it. Let's grow together. Thank you. And yeah, that's about my time.
Yeah, so participants are requested to raise their hands, and then we will allow them to unmute for the Q&A session.
Guys, feel free to please ask any questions you may have. I think people have questions. Bill has question, right? I think Bill.
Yeah, I think he has the permission to unmute himself.
Yeah, Bill, please go ahead with your question. Bill, can you hear us?
I guess I don't. He doesn't have it.
Guys, any questions? Feel free. I mean, no question is stupid, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so Rivanshi had a
yeah.
question.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, Rivanshi. Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, I'm in my first year, like in my second semester. So I wanted to ask that I wish to, get in consulting field. So what should be, a way to approach since like it's just starting for me? What projects should I take? Or
Mhm.
how should I build my profile?
Okay, so like if you're in first year or second year, so you have a lot of time to tailor your profile actually to a consulting job. So what you need to do is find market research internships, right? Uh, Try to work on market research projects, benchmarking. Google it. I mean, you may not know what benchmarking is. Benchmarking is like you are being compared with your three friends, right? So yeah, like your target is to be a topper in a class, but you want to know what others are doing, right? Your toppers are doing, your competitors are doing. So now you'll identify, right, three toppers in your class, which actually you want to look forward to, right? And then you'll see, okay, this is what they do. So this is what is called benchmarking. Uh, so do market research internships or market reports, report writing, right? Uh, I'm not able to recall actually. There's a one free site actually where you can actually do free internships online from BCG and like all top players.
Raj.
Forage, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. So you can do free internships on forage.com. Build up your profile with BCG and all these internships, and then apply for like obviously tailor your resume accordingly to a market research or consulting firm, right? Incorporate all the secondary research, benchmarking, and all these technical aspects. Like Google 10 JDs for market research internships, include most of the aspects in your resume, including the internship which you do on Forage, and then apply to actual companies. They'll give you an internship, and that's how you actually build your profile towards consulting. So do 2 to 3 internships across how many you can across industries. Don't get stick to one industry because you have a lot of time, right? Do it any industry, whatever you may get, do it. Just don't stick to one industry. That's what my opinion is. Because otherwise, if you don't like an industry later on, it will be difficult for you. Try finance, try energy, anything, no matter what they're doing. Report
Got it.
writing.
Like I did an internship with Make My Trip. So should I include that on my resume?
Yeah. See, in consulting, they
But it's an HR internship.
HR internship.
Yeah, with Make My Trip.
It see consulting. We cater to all industries, all capabilities, all problems. See, whatever a company problem can have, we have a solution for that. It can be HR, it can be people, it can be processes, it can be finance, it can be legal, anything. But of course, you have already done an internship, but moving forward, do try to do market research and all these. Like there are a lot of companies, Modern Intelligence, right? These are market research companies. Modern Intelligence, we have Grandview Research, then we have Allied Market Research. uh, these are small companies, but these actually help you build your profile initially if you are not getting into big firms. So yeah, I think, yeah. So
Okay,
we have,
thank
I
you.
think, yeah, we have Brinda, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, I'm a graduate. I've recently graduated, and as you said, I do have previous market research internship experience. But I find it difficult for shortlisting my resume in
So I
consulting.
had a question
So,
basically.
like you
Firstly,
said, that
thank you
there
so
is an
much for
AI
such
based
an insightful session.
shortlisting that goes on. I wanted to ask: is there any technical skills like Tableau or SQL or anything that also adds to the AI based system that is required for the shortlisting?
So it depends on companies. So if you are like if you're applying to ZS Associates, right? So those companies are data-driven consulting companies. They do hardcore data. I mean, they have SQLs. I myself worked on SQL, R, Python, Excel. Like lot of focus is there on tools. So these are different consulting firms. Versus if you talk about McKinsey, Bain, BCG, even those have very digital capabilities. But if you are actually applying to a general consulting role, which like I am in, uh, tools initially are not required on a resume. It's good to have. If you have written, if you know about it, it'll definitely a plus point that okay, you know about it. But other than that, they'll actually look at your overall profile, that what have you done. Do you know about secondary research, you have done benchmarking, what experience you have, and all that. So if you're applying to ZS associates or those kind of firms, uh, you need to mention R, SQL, and all these in order to get shortlisted, because competition is getting tougher day by day. Everyone is learning these languages and the tools, so it gets really tougher if you don't mention those.
Thank you, sir.
Next we have, I think, Dash.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So can you please suggest some academic project that we can take to make our profile according to consulting academic projects?
Academic projects, you can do any benchmarking study. It's uh, like you can mm, so I remember one of the projects. Have you heard about HPAIR? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Harvard HPAIR. So right. So last year I had participated in that. So in that they have a competition also. So in that competition, what, like, there are four topics. So one of the topic was like in I think some of the Asian country, you had to establish a vocational education training center. So what we did was we analyzed 4 or 5 countries which had best in class vocational centers, and then identified what those programs were, what they did, who governed them, like what are the funding mechanisms, how did they operate it, uh, how did they expand, what are the geographies they are operating in, right? And then we designed the strategy for the client, right? So you can take any project, you can benchmark uh, like financial policies of India, maybe some uh, w- mm, 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 maybe startup ecosystems, right? I mean, like how are Indian startup or startup ecosystem, how is startup ecosystem shaping in terms of global trends? So you can benchmark US markets, right? Okay, how the startup ecosystem works there, the VC firms are there, accelerator programs are there, there are a lot of opportunities and incubation programs, versus how are they different from India? Like India government has their program, right? Skill accelerator programs are there, Startup India program is there. So you can maybe benchmark Startup India program across other countries programs, how are they different, what better we can do. So you can pick any benchmarking.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Next is, I think, Udit, or maybe Bhavik, whoever wants to go first.
Hello,
uh,
am
yeah,
I
Udit,
audible?
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Good evening, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session. My question would be, how should one prepare for financial consulting or financial advisory particularly?
So for financial, I mean, you can like if you have all gotten some internships into finance, that would be great. Honestly, not necessary into finance consulting, not necessary. Honestly, you just need to have financial experience background. So if you have done 1 or 2 internships, anything related to finance, it would work. It would suffice for a consulting interview. Honestly, so I mean, typically you'll need to know balance sheets and income statements, cash flow statements, right? Reading about ratios, how are typically what we do is corporate finance. So read about it online. Maybe you have a lot of, you can take up some courses on Coursera, corporate finance. That's what we do, corporate finance and strategy. So it's not like pure finance we do, like it's related to companies and how we actually link finance and strategy, right? So read about it, do some projects maybe online. You can even undertake your own projects if you are not getting anything. uh, d- Pick up some companies, pick up their balance sheets, compare those companies, prepare reports, benchmark them on some parameters. Okay, suppose if you pick up uh, consumer goods company, right? So you are benchmarking what are the important ratios which you will compare consumer goods companies on, and which is better, why, right? So these are like kind of things which you can actually fill in your resume, so that you are actually fit for a finance consulting role.
Okay, sir. And also, how are the interviews of such roles like?
So see, they don't expect you to be a specialist in finance, given that you are already a undergraduate, right? I mean, if you have a MBA in finance, of course they'll expect you to know a lot more, or if you are a CFA. But if you are
I'm
undergraduate,
a
then
I'm a final year student and will be giving my CFA level 1 in this November.
oh, okay, nice, nice. So if you're giving CFA level, of course they'll expect you to know all these basic balance sheets and all ratios. How do you do the analysis, DCF, right? So they will expect you to know all these things. So they can actually deep dive if you are applying for a, uh, finance consulting role. And if you actually apply and you put on a resume, a CFA, definitely chances are there they'll put you into a finance teams only. So be ready for that.
Oh, okay, sir.
Read about case studies on MBB websites. Honestly, there are a lot of cases, white papers, blogs published. You'll get an idea.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so yeah, we will have the last question for the day. Yuvika, can you unmute and ask your question?
So am I audible?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So may
Am I
I ask
audible?
one question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you so much, sir, for the insightful session. I had basically two questions. So the
Okay.
first one is related to a profile related to consulting, as I am already into this field, and if I am appearing for such an interview, I just wanted to know, like, most of the interviews, like, if I have given such interviews for internships, basically, but I'm not sure how a consulting placement interview is structured. So I basically wanted to know, like, uh, as a college level consultants, we basically pose structures to the questions that they ask. However, they are most of the times looking for the solutions. So, how can we on the spot come up with the solution and come up with the prompt answer that can actually impress the interviewer?
So if you're talking about case study interviews, the book I mentioned, right? Case in point. So you can't come up or make up answers. I mean, it's all about experience, honestly. We consultants are not like born with all the answers we have, but it's practice. That's what we do day in and out. And so if anybody wakes up in us in the sleep and asks, okay, this is a problem, we are ready with the solution because we have done it 100 times. We have done it 10,000 times. That's how these consulting firms work, honestly. They have done a project million of times so that they actually know in and out of everything. So practice is what you need to do. Go thoroughly through the cases of case in point. Practice is so well that okay, any of the market entry, market sizing, profitability, sales expansion, market growth strategies, any question they ask, you are prepared with a strategy, no matter what case example is there. Yeah, on to your next question.
Okay, so that's actually understood. But continuing the previous question only, like, even if it's not related to market sizing, suppose if a question is asked to me, like, suppose you're given $10 billion, so how will you spend it or something? And if I say like schools and colleges, and the person is delving more into like how will you what is the problem in the current scenario, like the schools and colleges. So if they want an accurate solution to it on the spot, I just wanted to know, like, how can I be really prompt to such questions? Because of course, case books is
Mm.
something that we'll be practicing beforehand only. But these are some on the spot questions that can put you in their bait. So
So
that's one thing that I'm trying to address.
so this is what I was uh, pushing on through the session, like structuring your thoughts. I mean, whatever thoughts you have to question the thought that why is that. So in order to answer this question, like if someone asks me this question, okay, you are given $1 billion and where would you invest? So my first answer would be I will do a benchmarking study of all the sectors where, and I'll see what are the profitabilities going on currently, what are the regulatory mechanisms in those sectors currently prevalent in India, and their future forecasts. I will analyze the market growths, right, for all the sectors. Okay, which are the best sectors which have the high potential for market growth in the next 5 years? Then I'll define my ambitions, right? That okay, I need, suppose $1 billion is there. I want 10x returns or 20x returns in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. What I want actually, right? So once you have done a market assessment, you have conducted your ambition, then you align your ambition with the market. That okay, these are the three sectors which actually fall into my goals, and then you deep dive into okay, which are the specific subsectors where you want to invest. So that's how you approach, and this approach you cannot develop in one day. You start solving case studies, consulting case studies, you actually automatically will develop a structured thinking process. So this is actually a thinking process which you need to develop over time. This is cannot be developed in one day, and that's why most of the people cannot even make to consulting, because they have not structured their thought process and they are not able to think through and break a problem into 100 different aspects or possible solutions which can be. So this is thing, like if your question is posed to you, you need to break that question into 100 or 1,000 different possible solutions you can. So that's what consultants do. So that's what you need to develop actually.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. One last question to you. One of my friend wanted to appear for a sales and marketing role, basically. So,
Mhm.
as we are into in our college, also most of the consulting firms come, and there are less chances of the sales, marketing, operations, things like that. So, basically, she wanted to know how is that interview structured? If you can shed some light on that, and we'll end with this. Thank you.
So you're asking like how sales and marketing interviews are structured.
Yes, sir. So basically, my doubt was that, how is it different from a consulting interview? Because in consulting, you can prepare beforehand using casebooks and all these things. So, what type of questions actually come across in such interviews?
So see, that depends on the skills which are required for that role, right? If you're talking about sales and marketing, so of course they'll, if you're talking about sales specifically, so sales and marketing both are different. So right, if you're talking about sales, then they'll see your communication skills, right? If you're a people person, you have done previously sales internships, you have participated in some competitions where you have led teams to deliver something, right? Organizing your college society events, right? Bringing in sponsorships. So these are the sale aspects which they look for. Marketing, again, it depends on what type of marketing you're talking about. If you're talking about digital marketing, then they'll see if you have the digital marketing skills, right? Social media skills, what the right copywriting you say, if you can write good posts, good social media handles, how can you manage handles, how can you increase engagement, do you know Google Analytics, right? Do you know these SEO things, right? Website optimization, Google AdWords ranking, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. So just identify the key skills from the job descriptions, what the job you're applying to, and develop on those skills and abilities. That's how you do actually. Just analyze the job descriptions. That's all you need to do for any job.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. Now, please allow me to present my screen and the host can take it over. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for such a wonderful session, sir. Your skills of explaining complex things via daily life situations is really amazing. You really changed my perspective of GDs and interviews. I mean, I thought talking more is the only way to win-win in a GD. Never thought about profiles in GD and all. So it was a really insightful session. Can never forget such a great example of Amma. Really, Amma taught us consulting today. We surely learned from Amma cocktails and rockets. On the behalf of HCG, we couldn't be any more overwhelmed and proud to have you amongst us. We express you our extreme gratitude for your invaluable presence at our event. Thank you for showing us the right way to crack interviews and group discussions. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for taking time from your busy schedule to be the guest speaker at our event. Yeah, and please accept this small token of appreciation from us. Yeah, so this is the memento.
Is this memento getting delivered to my home? Because this poster hardly takes 10 minutes to make on Canva. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see to it and deliver.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Also, for the participants, please check out the Score My CV website. We have already put the link for the same in our WhatsApp group of Phase and Place. So do check out on that.
Yeah. Again, I would like to thank everyone. I think I love sharing my experiences with people and helping them to get ahead in the professional and personal lives. So, if you have any doubts, anytime, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. I'm regular there. I'll keep on writing my posts and all. So, feel free. You have any doubts regarding resume, guidance, anything.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
so
so much,
thank
sir.
you
All
so
right.
much, sir, for
Also,
a
guys,
great, insightful
please.
session. And
Yeah.
of course, if we can have your address, we can definitely deliver this memento to you with some flowers as well. And of course some goodies from our sponsor. We have a sponsor also, so definitely we are actually honored to have you today, and thank you so much for such an insightful and great session. In this entire 1 hour, there were very new things that we could learn from you, and the way that you taught, like the mocktail and all those creative things that were there, they were actually the ones that help us to retain things in our mind. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Yeah.
Al-
Also,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, guys, please be there tomorrow at the same time to ace your